learning something new, not something that
All right.
supposed to do it
Recording is
Toastmasters.
on. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight for this next VP support session. My name is Ray Laxon, in case you haven't heard yet. And tonight's session is all about managing club agendas. And this is the part where we're all going to be talking about how do we manage probably the most difficult part of a VP's role. It's essentially the meeting agenda. And so many times we encounter changes to it, and just even the act of scheduling it ahead of time and knowing who to put into what roles. And those can get very difficult and very time consuming, and we're all pretty busy. So that having that big responsibility on a VPE is quite demanding in it itself. And tonight's all about sharing the strategies, the tools, the techniques, and the thinking behind how we manage our agendas. And I've invited three special guests tonight. We have Ross Wilkinson, who I spoke to earlier. He's going to be connecting in a few minutes from now, and Stephen Ehrman, who's also here, and Janet. Hey, Janet. So we're all going. I've invited our three guests to come, and each one will have their own segment. They'll be speaking for 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, and explaining their techniques and their tools that they use to manage agendas. And then after that, we're going to be having around 3 to 5 minutes of question and answer portions. So anyone in the group can ask anything of that specific presentation. And then once all three presentations have been concluded, once all three have had their segments, and if we still have time in the end, then I'll just have a general open forum for any questions, any other questions before I wrap up. So that's how tonight's session is going to go. Before I call my first guest, I'm just going to quickly run through what I've talked about during the TLI sessions when I handled my sessions. So I actually gave a very simplified version of how to manage agendas. I'm going to just go through that quickly, probably around 5 to 7 minutes only. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. So this is the very, very basic methodology for managing your agendas. It's just Excel and Word. And this is really a great tool if you just want to grab in, and there's not much of a learning curve. Everyone here, I assume, would probably know how to use Excel and Word. And what I did in Excel is, this is my planning sheet. So whenever you're creating agendas, it's important to have a planning sheet to know what people have done in the past and what they're going to be doing, so that you can plan what they could be doing in the future. So I erased the names of the club members in Aspire when I was Vice President of Education, and all I have are their numbers here. And here I would keep track of their competent communicator levels, so I know where they are at that point. Because as a Vice President of Education, one of our responsibilities is also to help our clubs to become distinguished, to be a distinguished club. And six of the club goals are educational goals. So it was important for me, and I hope it is for you as well, VPEs, to be able to keep track of where your members are, so that you can help them achieve their awards, and in doing so, your club also benefits. So I keep the track here of the levels of where they are, and then here, this is the club dates. And I'm just going to show you how quickly I used to do things. So imagine today is the 15th of July, 2017, and I need someone to be a Toastmaster. I just use a little code TM. And what I do is I want to make sure that people don't do the same roles, fairly soon. So I look at this member, and I see when's the last time this person was a Toastmaster. And I see there's no TM here for quite some time. So I said, okay, this person, I'm just going to schedule you as a Toastmaster. And maybe this person hasn't been a grammarian for a long time and so forth. So I just followed the same methodology. This person, I know he wants to give a speech, so I put speech competent communicator manual number 3. So it's just a little code that I use to see where I am. And once I fill up all the slots here for all the required roles, that's when I start putting their names here. So here I could put, Toastmaster, I'll put Ray, and maybe grammarians is Marie, for example, and so forth. And that's how easy and quick and simple the methodology is. And there's nothing complicated. There's not a lot of automation. It's just manual. Stick in the numbers here. Use this just to assign. And then once you have an agenda, which is good, you put in the names here and then print it out. The obvious disadvantage is that there's a lot of manual processes. So if someone, what if this Ray guy here decides to, slack off and not attend, and now I'm left with looking for a Toastmaster. So I have to now go back to the sheet, look for someone else here who hasn't been a Toastmaster for a while and who's not doing a role, and then, try to assign them as a Toastmaster. Call them up. If they confirm, then I can put their name in here. So let's put here Eric, for example. So it's a lot of manual steps, but it's very simple to pick up. And that's how I used to do it. And it worked for me. And that's how simple it is. Okay, so that was me quickly giving my points. I really want to give the floor now to the rest of the guests and give them guest speakers and give them a much more extended period to explain their methodology. And I really want to point out that tonight is all about sharing what works and what's worked for them, because there's no point in saying that, my method is the best or their method is better than mine and so forth. It's really each one's methodology may or may not work for you, and it's up to everyone in attendance to just basically understand and pick and choose what will work for you and your club. So that's the intention I have for tonight and the perspective I have. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to transfer the floor now to our first presenter. And Ross is still not here, so Janet or Stephen, who would like to go first?
Oh, look, I can go first if you like.
Lovely. Okay, Janet, we'll turn the floor over to you. I'll stop my share. And feel free to share your screen if you wish.
Okay.
I'll give the floor to Janet. Thank you.
Look, I am a Toastmaster of 3 clubs, which is Mundaring, which has about 12, it fluctuates between 12 and 14 members. But we have a number of people that drop in and drop out due to work commitments. I'm Swan, which of course is a very small club. So it's around sort of trying to get people to do multiple things, and then you've got Leading Lights, where you've got a large number of members, but those with, it's a particular format that we use, it's different, and getting those participants involved and making sure that they are well and truly notified of what's expected early, so that we can make adjustments easily, because it is leadership groups from across Toastmasters. I'm going to share the screen and show you what I do for Mundaring. This is now I'm a visual person. So nice. as you can see, I can see who has done what very quickly visually. I also, you can see that we do have a number of members, such as my husband, who usually coaches basketball, but will come in whenever he's not coaching. And also that you've got those members that have dropped out as well. There's the to be confirms, and there's the absences that I actually forecast in early. How I usually forecast 6 months in advance. You might go, nice. How on earth do you do that? Well, it's because the club is quite small, but I only forecast 2 speeches per meeting. We actually have the opportunity to fit in 3 speeches per meeting, and some of these speeches may be educationals, but they're not noted on this, but they are noted on our agendas. So I can very quickly see who has undertaken a role, and you can see that there's not much crossover. For example, Gladys has, on this whole thing, there was a couple of speeches in a row, but that was because she stood up and she sort of, we always make sure that someone has a speech in their pocket, because we had a lot of absences that day, and that was actually our speech-a-thon along there. So we decided we were going to have a speech-a-thon because we knew that there was a lot of people away, and we thought, let's just have speech and evaluations, and we each had to give a speech and an evaluation that night. How I generally do it is from July to December, I'll forecast, leaving, as I said, leaving at least a speech and a speech evaluation open. And I also have a note whatever is unassigned. So if I know that I've got a number of absences, I will drop them into the unassigned area, and we can pick up. Also, on the bottom of my forecast, because we released this, I released this as a Excel spreadsheet to all of club members, we have those special dates that are coming up. So they know what, where and when is on at any particular time in the division, in the district. As you can see, the area contest is being hosted by Mundaring, so that's being just scheduled in as blank, and that's on one of our club nights. Where you see the double ups is where someone has stepped in. For example, I did general evaluation, that was my primary role, and I also did timer that night as there was a number of absences. And also Karen picked up Jill. So what I do is I'll send out, I will just hide up to a certain date, and then I will just cut and paste that date out and send it to everyone, and I'll say, okay, this is what's going on, and there is these roles, which we currently have none unassigned in that day, that are available, and Judith is our Toastmaster for that meeting. She will give the theme, and then she will also send out the agenda. So I don't have to do the agenda in our clubs, in my club, in Mundaring or Swan. I do it for Leading Lights, but I don't do it for this. And that way it makes people accountable for telling the Toastmaster who is going to actually be doing their role. And there is an expectation that as soon as this is released, within 24 hours, they advise if there has been any changes, because a number of our members work away or have business commitments where they might have to fly interstate, but they should know by then. So we actually don't get many last minute notifications because of that. We get quite a heavy commitment rate, and most of those absences that you saw, and the reason why we had the speech-a-thon on that date that I showed you, was because I knew that Judith had made a commitment to another club as an area director, or no, she was away that week. Sid and Mel were on holidays, Sean was working away, Richard was working away, Bill had basketball as usual, and Diane had withdrawn from the club. So there was very clear understanding of where people were at, which makes it really, really easy to forecast. What I do once we've had the meeting, is I will take my agenda to the meeting, or take this and I'll mark up if anyone's done the extra roles. For example, on the 17th July, Sid did table topics, but as a secondary role, he did a speech evaluation as well. And I did the timers role as a secondary. So that's how I can keep track of people's roles and the secondary roles that they do. That's sort of, Adam is a new member and he was actually a guest at that point. He did the then he didn't come back for a little while, and then he made a commitment. As you can see, he's now a member. So there is, that's the way that we can forecast, I can forecast in, because I tend to keep the Heartmaster as a role that we give to a new person, and then I can quickly shuffle those primary roles or those minor roles around so that they get the opportunity to do an and as he was a brand new member, we gave him, he actually did that timer. I haven't updated this, but he did the secondary timer role there, and so he became a timer/tally counter in our contest. Might as well get them right in as soon as you sign them up. We have our supper supplied by the Toastmaster, so we know that if the Toastmaster can't make it, we'll still get supper, because whoever replaces them has to bring some supper, which is nice and easy. And in Swan, it's the general evaluator who is the supper person. So if either of those pull out, we can easily identify it. And if you're wondering where that noise is, it's my dog behind me. It works really efficiently by sending out a screen capture of the roles with the template that we use for our meeting agendas, which is the one that most people have used and modified from Toastmasters International, with sort of, it's up to the Toastmaster then to fill in the agenda, to make any adjustments, and off that agenda I make the adjustments to my spreadsheet. Wow. Then what I do is after the meeting, update the spreadsheet. At the end of each meeting, at both Swan and at Mundaring, we have a VPE in the agenda, which is 5 minutes at the end of the meeting. We will go through the forecast for the next meeting, and we will also ask for any projected absenteeism. So then people can say, yes, I'm here, or I'm not here for this particular role, and that way I can make adjustments along the way. That is, in a nutshell, what we do. And we also bring up any sort of contests or events. As you can see, COP was all listed there. Our first committee meeting, which I need to find out where the next one is, because it should be, actually it should be in here, so that we know where it's, when those meetings are also coming up. So, and that area director visit I haven't updated. We've already had it and he's done his report. Patricia. Is there any questions in relation to that?
Right. Thank you for that, Janet. I'm opening the floor now for questions. So if anyone wants to ask Janet anything about this, feel free to chime in.
No.
While we're waiting, I just want to compliment you on a couple of nice things I see on your sheet. I like that you put the mentor column there. So it's also easy to see who's mentoring who. And I know mentoring is actually going to be a topic I want to discuss in a future support session. It's something that I think is from my perspective, I feel like it's something that's not very well developed in most Toastmaster clubs. I don't know if any of you would agree with me in that, but it certainly has been in my experience with my own clubs. It's been difficult, but I'm glad to see that based from the sheet I see that it's really something that you're serious about and focusing, and it's really part of your planning as well.
Yeah, we do try to get some mentor assigned within by the third meeting. We try to get our new members to do a speech by the second or third meeting, and so it's nice to actually have a mentor prior to that, but it's not also, it's sometimes not practical based on the fact that we prefer them to establish a relationship with someone, and if there's a couple of people available to be mentors, we tell them up front and say, these are the people who are available for mentorship. Just let us know who your preference would be for your first 3 speeches. But we also advise them that they can change their mentors if they want.
Okay.
And it can be an ongoing thing, not just for their up to their third speech.
Fantastic.
But if you look at Swan and Mundaring, it's exactly the same.
Okay. Just one more question, because I think we're running out of time already. We want to move to the next person. I just want a quick question. When you said that did you say that at the end of each meeting you have a VP segment where you actually confirm the agendas going forward? Did I hear you?
Yes, I will show you that very quickly if I can. As you can see, we've just got a VPE update, which is 5 to 6 minutes, 5 minutes, which is basically the time just before the president's closing where we confirm who's doing what.
Okay.
I had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Janet, with your Excel spreadsheet, the one that Ray developed that I used when I succeeded him as VPE, had drop-down options for selecting the different roles. I think yours isn't.
No.
Does it mean that column T you just use to copy and paste?
Yeah, I just use it to copy and paste because, as I said earlier, Maria, I'm a visual person and I like colour. So I just go Control-C, Control-V.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of there.
And that means you can add the additional role that they do easily, which drop-down option wouldn't give you that.
Yeah, and also too is that if I've got a new member, I'll just insert a column, get rid of the colours, and start them from scratch. Sort of put their name in, put their mentor in, and just sort of keep on building off that.
Okay, nice.
Great, thanks for that.
Okay.
Thank you. Fantastic. All right, well, thank you very much, Janet, for sharing about your technique. It's very colorful, I should say, and I really do appreciate the adding the mentor column and the important dates as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's proceed to our next one. Ross still isn't here. He's missing in action, but he did tell me that he's coming tonight. So I think we'll move to the next guest. Will be Stephen Ehrman. So Stephen, welcome. I'll hand the floor to you to explain to us your technique for managing agendas. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Ray. Much appreciated. Let me share my screen. I am the V. Can you see my screen? Yes, I am sharing. Good. That's not what I want to show you. So when I started I'm the VP of 2 clubs, Persuasive Speakers, which is a club, 26 members, most of them are young members. And I'm also, something weird happening here. And I'm also the VP of DTM Pathways, which is an advanced club, which is where scheduling are very different. In both cases, we use EasySpeak. EasySpeak is an amazing tool to schedule meetings. It is also a slightly complicated tool. So what I would like to walk you through is the process that I use to schedule a meeting. What we see here is the main screen for my next meeting. This is what the system will show me first. It will show me Persuasive Speaker, my home club. Next meeting is the 3rd of October. I will not go much into details on this screen because this is a special meeting. As you can see, it is a club contest. Now, the way I would proceed is to say I want to create a meeting. Automatically, it knows that the next meeting I have scheduled is on the 7th of November because it knows the schedule of our clubs. It knows the starting time. It knows where we're going to meet. It knows it's meeting 54. It doesn't know what the theme is, but I don't know it either. And I can select the kind of agenda I want to have. So I prepared templates for different kinds. We have the speech-a-thons, we have the speech evaluation competition, and so on. So I'm going to say this is a PSTC, Persuasive Speaker, Toastmasters Club, 4-speaker plus Toastmaster meeting, a normal meeting. And I'll add some comments, I'll do it later, click submit. And basically, within 10 seconds, my meeting is created. And it's currently empty, so there's nobody assigned, no roles are assigned at all. What you see here is on the left, you see all our members. We have 23 members I consider active, 5 members I consider inactive, and we also have guests who occasionally intervene in the meetings. On the right, you have the rules for the meeting. It's not the order in which they will be scheduled. It's the rule I set up so make it easier for me. I find that setting the speakers and the Toastmasters are the most difficult, so I put them on top. Finding the evaluators is the thing I then get into thinking about. Table topic master, evaluator, reserve speaker, and so on and so on. There's a beautiful auto assign button here at the bottom, which I rarely use. So let's walk through the process on how I assign one of these meetings. This screen is really nice because I can say, okay, who is going to be my Toastmaster? And I just click on the list and I get a drop down. So I need to scroll this up a little bit. It shows me all my members. It also shows me here who has done it last. So I can avoid repetition. So I can say, well, these people have never been Toastmaster. So let me pick somebody who's fairly advanced, who will be a great Toastmaster. Table topic manager, same punishment. So we see the people who haven't been a table topic master, and we see the ones that have done it. So let's pick, well, Ross. Ross would be a great table topic manager. And I can save these few settings. I'm not going to go through the whole process because of time, but I want to show you how to assign speakers because in our club, being a young club, being a club where most members are beginners, what we do is we assign the speaking slots based on when they last spoke. So EasySpeak has a screen for that, where I can schedule speeches and it will show me the history of everybody who spoke in the club and when they spoke. On the right-hand side, we have every member and when they last spoke. I like scheduling by last spoke. Descending. My internet connection tonight is not very fast, my apologies. So what we see here is on the right, we have our inactive members on the top. We have our active members when they last spoke, if they have already a speech scheduled.
Nice.
And it was also showing me comments like Ross cannot attend every third meeting of the month because she's club coach and that time.
What?
On the left, I see who are the people who are scheduled to speak on the 3rd of October, who is going to be scheduled on the 17th of October. So I can look here and say, well, Jimmy Douglas hasn't talked and hasn't spoken in 173 days. There's a reason for this, by the way, but I can pick him and say, let's give the first slot to Jimmy because it's his turn. So here we get Jimmy. I hope I picked the right one. And if I click on workbook speech, I should have the history of every speech he's given. So I see that he's worked on motivational strategies and he did some contest speeches.
Right.
If I click on motivational strategies, I see the last time he spoke was for his level 1 evaluation feedback. So the next speech is going to be evaluation feedback 2. Now, if I picked somebody who was more active, we would have the whole history of every speech a person gave. I'll show you Ross Wilkinson in a second. Then, title to be confirmed.
Nice.
So basically, I assigned the speaking slots based on when the people last spoke to give it a fairness. Now, not everybody is going to be available. So then I will send out an agenda. So we see here Jimmy here. We see two things. We see a question mark, meaning he hasn't confirmed yet. And the exclamation mark is I haven't informed him yet. So I guess that's why he hasn't done it yet. So I just wanted to show you Ross's history. Just to give you an idea. It is a little bit scary. So we see that he has been working on his competent communicator. He's been special occasion speeches, competition, effective coaching, persuasive influence, presentation mastery. And these are the books here. All of these books have been tracked in Easy Speak. Do things make sense so far? Do you have any questions?
That's impressive. Did it import all those speeches from Pathway Basecamp?
Yes. It knows all the speeches of all the manuals and of all the... let me show you this. Let's pick...
I've got a question for you, Stephen.
Yes.
Ross belongs to multiple clubs. Does it keep track of all his assignments across the clubs that use Easy Speak only?
It does.
Okay.
Wow.
So that means if we take Tom Bielski, who has implemented Easy Speak in every club he's in, you should even see more than Ross. So there's about 1,700 clubs in the world using Easy Speak. And which one should you pick? Let's say persuasive speaking. I know he's been working on. Oh, he's been working on it very much here. So you can see the history, and actually if we went in, we could have the detail of every speech the person is giving. Well, I'll get to that later. So it tracks across the clubs that use Easy Speak, which is fantastic. What it also allows you to do up here is record speeches made outside of a Toastmaster, outside Toastmaster meeting. So if somebody gives a speech, and one of my club members gives a speech outside of Easy Speak, I can actually record his speech and have it validated there. So it gives me the full tracking.
Wow.
Actually, there is club charts, communication chart, I think. So there's a lot of stuff. It's very deep. There's a lot of things happening here. You get all the info.
Oh, wow.
So you see that John Pay, as an example, has done a bunch of speeches across a bunch of books. We see Ross Wilkinson. Let's take myself. It's less embarrassing.
Oh, whoa.
So you see I've been doing some work on my motivational strategies path. I've been very focused. And I've been presenting a few educationals, so it also tracks the educationals. Well, we see Tom Bielski has done a lot of speeches in the CC manual. And you might notice that we have the title of the speeches and so on. So there's a full tracking. It's very, very powerful. Now, let's go back to our scheduling, right? So I was scheduling speeches for a meeting in October. By the way, because we are a small committee, don't hesitate to ask questions if you have any. That was the setting. I was in the wrong order. So my sequence is to assign the Sergeant of Arms, the President, the Toastmasters, and the speakers. So I would assign the speakers here. I'm not going to do it again because of time. Then I'll go back into the meeting and I'll fill the other roles. Remember, we gave Jimmy Douglas a title, so it's there now. So I would assign the roles and say, well, first evaluator, I want the first evaluator should be a strong evaluator because that person will give the tone for the whole meeting. So let's pick Tom Bielski. He's really a fantastic evaluator. Then I'm going to pick somebody else who has less experience. Third one, Sue is very new, but he shows potential, so he could be a good evaluator. So I'm picking the evaluators, really. So, table topic master, and so on and so on. Save. Once I've set the whole agenda, there's a couple of things happening. There's an email button here on the right, which will allow me to send emails to everybody, basically. So this will send. So this will send one email here. I can send an email to the members, inactive members, guests, visitors, informing them that we will have a meeting. I'm not going to do it live. But I have to click this button first. Email. It's going to send an email to every member, to every inactive member, telling them, reminder, this is the meeting. Please tell me if you're attending or not. And it's going to populate the column we saw on the left. The other one I send is this one here, the third email. This basically sends me sends an email to everybody who has a role, asking them to confirm their participation or decline. And automatically it will fill the screen and give me the answer. So people will reply and say, yes, I can do the role, no, I cannot. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Sure. We're coming up to time already,
Yeah.
Stephen. So I think we'll just open.
So I want to show you two things,
question.
if I may. So I'm going to go very quickly to very quick things. Yeah. The first thing is EasySpeak generates the agenda for you. So it creates a PDF file that has a web page that has all the details, everything that you need. So once you set up the scheduling, it's very, very easy. So here I'm opening, and my internet connection is very, very slow tonight.
A quick question, Stephen.
Yeah.
If you accidentally pick the same person for two roles, does it warn you?
It does, but you can override it because it can happen.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, the agenda for our next meeting, which is half speech and half contest. So here you see who are the contestants, study counts. It's not completely finished. One thing, a tip I use is EasySpeak will show you on the screen if people have confirmed that they're attending or not. And it will show you if they have confirmed their roles or not. So once we get close to the meeting, I get on this thing here, which is basically an Android feature. And I send everybody, each person, text message saying, hey, would you like to be a judge for our next meeting? You haven't confirmed my stuff and so on. Because it's done on the computer, it's very, very easy. So this is the way I communicate, because not everybody uses the email that much. Okay, Ross, Ray said that we're open to questions. How much time do we have left, Ray?
We went a bit over time, but then
Okay.
Ross still isn't here, and I've been trying to contact Ross, and he hasn't been responsive. So we'll still open the floor for questions for Stephen while we're waiting for Ross. He's not responsive.
It's Marie here. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Stephen, fantastic to see this tool being demonstrated. So you put in all this work and finalize an agenda. You have the meeting, and of course, you have changes happen on the night. Last minute no-shows or people bailing because of illness or work. So what do you do post-meeting to capture the actual meeting? Are you able to edit that agenda?
Yes, it does. So after I'm going back one meeting. This is going to show us the previous meeting. Notice that this meeting is closed for changes, and we have I entered the results. So who won the awards? This was a contest speech. Who were the actual people? And we also have who attended and who didn't show up. Now, this evening, everybody was there. So yes, I track it. And the way it looks is I can reopen the meeting at any time. So I do have the actual tracking. There's a weird background now. Is somebody spanking a horse?
Other than my dog snoring, it's not me.
Okay. I heard something very weird on that. So basically, we can update things, and things can be changed once the contest is over. So I can change it as needed. Maybe I shouldn't show you who the judges were. That being said, it's passed. So yes, we edit the meetings after each meeting. It takes about 1 minute.
Okay.
Does it answer your question? Any other questions?
Yes, please. Questions, go.
Steve, it's Dennis Chong from Noranda. I got a question for you. For these easy speaks, other than yourself, if you are not able to come that particular night, or for some reason you are not, you'll be absent for a number of meetings. So your second person, did you have a second person there who can use this thing in your club?
Yes. So there's two things. The Easy Speak has been designed over the years. It's a very old tool. It's been ongoing for about 10 years now. So it has all the things you can imagine. So including the ability to have multiple people managing the meeting. So every club officer can enable, by default, will be allowed to use the tool and so on. There's also a feature where when you set up the meeting, you can actually say who is managing the meeting. Certain clubs, as you know, have the VP set up the schedule and then have the Toastmaster run the meeting. So you can actually assign the role and say, no, for this meeting, it's going to be Marion who is going to be managing the meeting. And she will then be in charge of managing the meeting. This can also be done in the future. Does this answer your question?
Yes, thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'm just saying that I never used this before, so I'm not sure how complicated it is. But by the looks of it, it seems to be very useful. It saves probably may save some time as compared to using Excel. So yeah, I'm keen to try on this Easy Speak in the near future.
Sure.
I'm happy to help you. It is a complicated tool. There's a fairly steep learning curve, but the reward is fantastic. because it will track everything that's the VP you want to track. It can track things like it has the Toastmaster surveys are built in, so you can survey your customers, your members. You can, when you have the discussion once a year about the engagement goals, you can actually enter it in the system. Yeah, this is what they want to achieve. That will help you track it. You know, if some members want to achieve 4 speeches, or if they want to finish their CC before December, so all of this can be entered and then tracked. It's very impressive for this.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, the member survey is there.
I can just imagine that there's going to be one heck of a setup, though. Especially when I saw your templates, you probably had to set all this up manually.
No, well, the templates are there, and the most templates are predefined. And editing a template is pretty easy because the system knows all the Toastmaster roles that the normal club has, but you can add more. We just go back to the meeting. It knows the templates for many meeting structures, and changing the structure is pretty easy. You click on this button here. Again, if I'm running out of time or if this becomes boring, please signal.
It's okay. I think Ross is going to be a no-show tonight, so I think after this we'll just open the floor for any questions, not just for Stephen, but also for Janet. Anyone has any questions or anything in general about managing agendas? Any issues?
Yeah, Stephen, in relation to this, you said it. There's the templates. What happens if you're having a one-off style meeting or a back-to-front meeting? Will it easily adjust to that?
Yeah, so this, by the way, this meeting you see here, this is the agenda structure. This was our meeting on 3rd of October, which is half a normal meeting and half a contest. So I built this, took me about 20 minutes to build it. So this is a very long one. It's a scary one. But it's really easy because you start with one of the templates, whereas 3 speaker for, and then delete some templates I didn't use. I'm not going to touch this because I don't want to break it. But then you just, if you want to add another role in your meeting, you just click on the button here. Let's say this is going to be, I don't know, let's say educational. It's an educational. The role is an educational. This is going to be the first educational. It's going to be, let's say, 5 to 6, 7 minutes, and I'm going to have another additional minute of float in there. I want this printed, I want the start time printed on the agenda, and I don't want a line afterwards. Now, this is how I added one agenda item. So the education cannot repeat, okay. So here it is. We see it's not assigned to anybody right now. It has duration of 8 minutes, green, amber, red. I can delete it. I can move it around with the arrows. So it's pretty simple once you know what you're going to do. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Stephen, it's Marie again.
Sure.
I think you mentioned that Tom Bielski is using this tool for all his clubs. Is that right?
That's my understanding. He uses it for many clubs.
Right. The reason is that he also developed an Excel tool.
He did, yes.
That at Mount Hawthorne, and it sort of did my head in for a bit, but when I was covering for another VPE, and now I understand how it works, but this would be better, I think. And if he himself has moved on from his own Excel tool to this, then that suggests that we might consider looking into it as well. Is there a cost associated with EasySpeak?
No, there's no cost associated. The team behind requests a $50 annual donation. In the case of Persuasive Speaker, we pay the donation. In the case of DTM, we do not yet. So there's no cost and there's no nagging and so on. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw
By the
you
way,
went
the
to.
spreadsheet I used Tom's spreadsheet before when I started. I loved it. I just found it difficult to scale, especially with pathways.
Okay.
If you can you import previous stuff into this from a
Yes.
spreadsheet? So
impressive.
it's an import. There's an import function into here.
There is. So you can import, obviously you can import the people, which is quite essential because you want to populate it, and then you can import the speech history.
Nice. Very nice.
And personally, what I did when we started this, club history. When I started this, roles by meeting. What I actually did is I went back and I entered the last 3 or 4 months of history. So this is very similar to the Excel that Janine showed us, right? Except that this is live information. So we see who did what in each meeting.
Nice. I saw you went to a page a while ago with nearby clubs. Is that static information?
Yes.
Or did it pull that from somewhere else?
What I was looking for, and I don't think I found it, nearby clubs is, I think it pulls it from Toastmaster. It pulls information from TMI. So what I was looking for was the list of clubs that use Easy Speak, but I don't think it is. I know
Is that China Perth? Look at that, China Perth.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So I don't know. I know that Plain Speakers use Easy Speak. I know that Sunday Sundowners uses it. I know that BTM Pathway uses it. So this might actually be the clubs that use. It might be this. It might be the clubs in Western Australia, or at least close clubs within 20 kilometers that use Easy Speak.
Very nice.
We can see actually. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Sunday Sundowners. Yeah, absolutely. They use Easy Speak.
It's only the clubs that use Easy Speak because there are 2 clubs that are next to Persuasive Speakers that are not listed there.
Yeah. Yeah, so these would be the clubs. So I didn't know Young Guns and China Perth were using it. I was aware of the other ones.
Does the system also do other things that FreeToast Host does? Does it have a built-in email list? And can it also do a website?
Yes, it can do the website. It is actually the website. Mm-hmm. And I think DTM Pathways actually use this as the website system. It can do the mailing list. There is a downside to the mailing list. The mailing list cannot handle attachments. So in our clubs, we still use FreeToast Host for mailings and for fee renewals, membership renewals, because they're built-in tracking tool. And we use this for scheduling the meetings and for the agenda.
Okay.
The downsides would be the fact that the look of the agenda, there's 10 possible looks and that's it. So this is the one that we prefer. But you can't really modify your agenda.
Yeah.
The other issue is getting into Easy Speak can be difficult because they insist on users having a username plus an email plus a password. And the username cannot contain that person's family name.
Okay.
So people find it difficult to remember their usernames. It's not a big issue. I mean, with a little bit of coaching, it works, but it's a little bit of a hassle. Potential for improvement.
Okay.
Stephen, it's Marie. Do you use this for committee meetings? Can you show us a committee agenda or minutes?
Yes, we haven't used it for that, but we did one in August, so give me a second. Let's go meeting list. But yes, when you create a club, we didn't use it for that, but I think I actually tracked it. No, I didn't. So I didn't use it for it. But if we have a minute or two, I can actually create one if you're interested.
Sure.
So why don't I see? Okay, meeting list. Where is create a new meeting? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the Sundowners from the wrong club.
You can do that. You can look at other people's clubs.
Yes, if they set the permissions accordingly.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that certainly would be helpful for people who are involved in more than one club in a sort of organising role.
Absolutely.
But
it
there may be a privacy issue there too. But do you have to approve that?
Yes, you do. But it depends who set it up. So create a meeting, and I can say this is a committee meeting. And that's about it. Let's create one and see what happens.
I like that, the results of the last meeting, because that's part of the minuting process.
Yes. So what you saw, that warning message, is because I had reopened the past meeting to show you how it was and hadn't actually reclosed it. So basically, what we have here is the meeting on committee meeting on the 21st of November. Confirm attendance. I'm not quite sure what else it does. I haven't really used it.
Okay.
But it knows who the team is, and knows who the immediate past president is.
Nice.
It has
something for some clubs. They could potentially use this. This would be a role for the secretary, which we all know. You know, we've got a chance to elevate the role of the secretary, and as a starting point before they start using this for VPE activity, by just encouraging them to look at this as a committee meeting tracking tool, and it just gives them a little bit of exposure.
Yeah, it would. Definitely. We got a warning here. Anyway, you're absolutely right.
Gosh.
I'm not in selling mode.
What happened for secretaries in the 15 years I've been with Toastmasters?
Well, we are over time, so anyway, but there is something quite interesting. There is a mobile view. I know it's not a mobile here, but this is how it would look on your phone. So yes, I'm attending this meeting, the comments, you see the view and so on, with the timing. And what I find really interesting is the timer view. This is something this is the one thing that convinced Ross Wilkinson that this was a good tool. Because basically, it mentions timing for you.
Nice.
And normally at the bottom here, you will see a bar progressing. You should see a bar progressing. It changes colors progressively when you reach the different times.
Very impressive.
And I think it was Mary who was asking, do we have the actual? So we have the actual timing here. We can also click and say that it wasn't Yasaman who was holding that arm. It was somebody else. So you can update the meeting live if it's happening, if you want to. I don't. I take notes and do it after the meeting.
Very nice.
How does that help you? I think that's fantastic. That's definitely very cool. What about table topic presenters? You know, respondees.
Yeah. So in our club, we don't track them, which is something I've been thinking about doing, but haven't done it. But yeah, we definitely could. The way you would do it, I think I actually did. I actually prepared for this. I can find a meeting that has
No, I didn't mean on the agenda. I just meant on the timer app.
On the timer app, yes.
Yeah, I've never captured who responded to table topics. That's starting to go beyond.
No, it wouldn't. What I've started doing, and I think I've done this for the meeting, I've done it in the future where I have two, in a meeting I'm planning, I've actually done it with two different timings. One for the table topic master, the 14 to 18 minutes that we have.
Oh, and one for the respondee, and you just keep resetting it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a good idea. And then you just note on the paper who the respondees were.
Yeah, I think I've done it on the 17th of October. I could be wrong.
All right. Let me just stop you there because we're running over time already. I want to respect people's time. We did say an hour only. It sounds like, is there certainly interest in Easy Speak? Probably a deep dive into Easy Speak from the group.
Yeah,
perhaps
absolutely. I think we could definitely drum
schedule
up
one whole session in the future, a VP session just on Easy Speak. I've been certainly thinking one as well for the free Toast host. So at least we give people the options, the big tools that have been created for Toastmasters. So certainly easy, happy to have that. But yeah, I think for tonight we'll just have to end this note because we're running over time. So let me just wrap up quickly, saying that tonight we did have three different perspectives. I just didn't expect mine to be one of them. I was hoping that Ross was here, but I guess something happened along the way. So we'll just hope that Ross is fine and everything's okay with him. And I hope that everyone tonight got some benefit, some value about seeing all the different possibilities and the different tools that we use for agendas. If you still have any questions, then feel free to email me and I'll attempt to answer your question and get back to you. That's my priority, really. I've always said that any questions, unanswered questions for tonight's sessions, I will prioritize and give you an answer as soon as possible before I release the replay, which will be happening much sooner than last time. Last time was a little too long, a week and a half, but I'll get the replay for this up sooner than that. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining tonight. Next 2 weeks time again, we'll be having a session and that will be focusing on educational awards. That's the next topic I'll be talking about. Stay tuned for your emails for all the details for upcoming meetings. But for tonight, thank you everyone again for coming. Thank you to Stephen and to Janet for presenting. We really appreciate your time and for your contribution for tonight's session.
Thank you.
Thank you for organizing this. Thank you, everything else. Cheers,
okay.
Mate.
Thank you, everyone. So have a good evening.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.